I'm Ingmar Rentzhog. I'm CEO and founder of We Don't Have Time. And I would like to start with asking you a question. And that is, what do you think we are heading at, end of century? How much are the planet going to be heated? Any guesses? It's a very shy audience. Do you believe more than 5 degrees? Yes. 4 degrees? 3 degrees? Some more hands. 2 degrees? 1 degree? Minus degree? I will give you the number. 7 years ago, we were heading at 5 degrees. That is basically extinction of the human race. That where it was 7 years ago. But as you see in here, we have a lot of solution now, not just on paper, but also scaling. So right now, we are at plus 2.7 degrees. That is just millions and billions of people going to die. We will be able to live on the planet, some of us, but it will not be a nice future. So we need to take that down to below 1.5 degrees. And in 7 years, we have made it half there. That is what I'm working on, because currently, things are not looking good. I mean, we have the solution, but it's not implementing fast enough. I used to work in finance industry, but 7 years ago, there was one man that changed my career, and it was actually Donald Trump. When he won the US election, it became so clear to me that our world leaders will not solve the climate crisis for us. So I sold my company, a financial communication firm, one of the most profitable in Sweden, and I founded We Don't Have Time. And our mission is to get to democratize all those solutions and mobilize enough people around them so that we can solve the climate crisis on time, so we can turn things around. And today, 7 years later, we have become the world's largest media platform for climate action. We are gathering the leaders that are acting. More than 100,000 climate professionals are using our platform. We work with more than 350 leading companies that are pushing for change, that are implementing change, and we reach every month 200 million on social media. We have built our own tech platform where you can look up millions of companies, see what they are doing on climate, and you can communicate to them, and they are communicating back. And this communication doesn't stay on our platform, it reaches out on social media. In order to also reach those that are not yet in the sustainability bubble, we have also created our own streaming service. It's a little bit like Netflix for the climate. So if you want to get access to UN meetings and other climate conferences, you can watch them for free on We Don't Have Time. And we have had amazing speakers, very high-level speakers, that are sharing their knowledge about solution and what to do on our stage. And here is just one example with Joe Biden. We reach an important audience. We have policymakers, media, climate influencers, business leaders, and sustainability experts and scientists active on our platform. So when things are being shared on our platform, it's becoming echoed all over the world, and we speed things up. And the clients we're working with, the clients that are paying us their money to push for change, or everything from big companies like Microsoft, Google, IKEA, down to scale-ups like you have seen here, and startups that are doing amazing solutions. And we've also been recognized for the tech we have, but most importantly, for the business we're doing. Last year, we became one of Sweden's fastest growing company working on climate. And this year, Financial Times put us on their list of the fastest growing companies in Europe, one of them. We were number 4 in media. And our mission, what we do, is that we're pushing for change. We're not doing it alone. We can't take credit for everything. But without media pushing for things, we will not solve it. We need to mobilize people. And one thing we have been doing very actively is working together with UN for UN, those COP meetings. And we have done a lot of things to push things further. And what we did in Dubai, as an example, was that before the meeting, we gathered all the stakeholders that want us to come down from 2.7 degrees to 1.5 degrees. And the only way to do that is not just focusing on scaling renewables, it's also phasing out the fossil fuel, the problem that are causing the crisis. So we gathered businesses, scientists, governments, and policymakers that wanted a phase out to happen. We had our TV studio in the diplomatic zone next to CNN, and we live broadcasted 10 hours per day where we gathered all these experts, and this is the short summary of what we did.
We cannot leave this COP without a big deal on fossil fuel phase out.
This is the scientific message of the need for a phase out of all fossil fuels.
It has to stop.
This COP can actually move us forward in the narrative that we can't ignore the elephant in the room anymore. Because you can't ignore to have a discussion about oil when you have a COP meeting in an oil country.
We're at an absolutely critical moment.
If we waste this, as you said, there is no time.
If we get the term fossil fuels in the negotiated outcome, and whether it's transition away or phase out, that'll be historic.
The fossil fuel industry and major fossil fuel producing nations have been derailing climate action since the beginning of UN climate talks.
They have distorted this process, the COP process, to such an extent that even talking about phasing out fossil fuels is so controversial.
OPEC nations are among those pushing hardest against a global agreement to end the use of fossil fuels.
The Saudi delegation has rejected any dialogue related to fossil fuels.
And it must be very, very, very punishingly tiring right now.
I think it's crunch time, and you can really feel it in the air.
The draft agreement emerged with no mention of phasing out fossil fuels.
We will not sign our gift certificate.
We can still do this. It's not too late.
Delegates, colleagues, and friends, I must say that you did it. You delivered.
Negotiators worked through the night on the deal, which for the first time ever calls for transitioning away from fossil fuels.
This is a sea change moment.
I think this is a global turning point.
It has changed the narrative forever, and fossil fuel are now toxic as hell.
Whilst we didn't turn the page on the fossil fuel era in Dubai, this outcome is the beginning of the end.
So that's an example of what a global media that gathers all the stakeholders can achieve when we work together. Because we need to work together in order to solve this crisis, right? And what we are at right now is that we have building our platform. We have focused on fast growth, a lot of new tech development. So now we're doing what most sustainable companies are doing. We're focusing on profitability. Because if we can't be profitable on doing sustainable business, we can't do business in the long run. So we are doing basic concept. We are reducing cost and focusing on selling what's high margin. So what are we making money of? We are making money of all those companies, big, large corporations, small corporations, that have the solutions and need to find their market and need to push for what they do, like you just have seen here. And we call it content marketing for purpose-driven companies. And we have a global platform for this, with a global reach. And the market for content marketing is a $400 billion market with a growth of 70%. We are offering that market to the leading platform for every company that needs help to become profitable in the green transition. We're helping them to leverage more clients, grow the market, but also push for legislation. Because we will not solve the climate crisis by just scaling renewables. We also need regulation. We also need to phase out fossil fuel sooner or later. And we are doing that together with companies. So what is my ask from you? My ask is that don't see me here as another entrepreneur pitching for a company that will give you some return of investment. Because this is much more important. And Donald Trump, that was the reason why I started 7 years ago. He's now maybe coming back. 2 weeks ago, he gathered all the oil executives in Mar-a-Lago, and he had to ask, and that was $1 billion from the industry, and he will remove all climate legislation. My ask is 1.5 million euro, and I will do everything I can to speed up change. And in order to do that, I need you here, not just as your professional capacity, but as an individual, because we are failing. And I think it's a much better return of investment to invest 1.5 million to speed change instead of 1 billion to destroy the world. Thank you. You will find me in the new app.
Let me ask you an unromantic question. How much revenue does We Don't Have Time do?
We are making 2 million euro in revenue.
And when you look at the corporates, do you find authenticity when they come to your platform? Do they really want to reduce CO2, or do they want to increase their sustainability brand value?
I will say those that only wants to brag and kind of don't do it for real, they are very afraid of giving their money to us. So it's kind of self-regulated. But there's a lot of companies out there that are only talking and not delivering. We are not for those companies. We are for the companies we just saw here. Amazing companies delivering.
Yeah. Well, I hope they come to We Don't Have Time and you help them to get customers in Germany.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ingmar.
Yes.
Shirna.